Good afternoon. We've just had a screening of Time-Lapse, and for the benefit of me mispronouncing your surname, would you like to tell us who you are and what your involvement was with the film?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice. My name is Luca Ferrara. Is the surname?
Okay.
Lots of R's.
Yes.
And I wrote, directed, then co-produced the short film we've just seen, which is Time-Lapse.
Excellent. So tell us where the concept came from.
So this is actually a script I wrote a few years back when I was in high school, and out of boredom, I guess, and as a victim of the many anxieties and hardships that people tend to go through in high school, I started imagining of a story in which such anxieties take a physical but somehow supernatural shape on the screen. So I wrote the screenplay. I entered a few screenwriting competitions and challenges, and I got some no awards, but some semi-final, final, selections at festivals. But then I didn't make this film for a very long time, but it stayed in the back of my mind for a bit. And I was in between two projects because I shot a relatively complex sci-fi short before this. And I was going to shoot another one, which I actually did in January this year.
Okay.
But I wanted to do a smaller project, and Time-Lapse was the one because I already had the script ready. I had some budget set aside, and all of the locations, those were the ones I had in mind since high school. So it was pretty easy to set this up as a production and to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I've got to ask the question. Did you get permission to use all of the locations, or was it very much guerrilla?
No. I got permissions for all locations. The house that the protagonist lives in is my friend's house. The school that we shot in is the school that my dad teaches at, so that was pretty easy to get.
Cool.
And the underground, the metro, that's based in my hometown of Brescia, Italy, and we got permission from the town to shoot there. They were actually pretty kind. They reserved a few coaches of the train for us, and they had the train do a slightly different route so that we could stay on it and didn't have to get off at the terminal station. So no, they were pretty nice. We couldn't have done this without permissions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just fascinating because all the time we hear about so many filmmakers that just end up jumping on a train and just stealing the scenes because they've tried to communicate with the railroad and they've just never been particularly agreeable. So the fact that you've been able to do that shows, very good. The guys that run the trains obviously are very, very good at what they do. So well done. Either that or you're an excellent negotiator.
I guess part of it we were lucky, but the other side of it is that since we shot this in a smaller town in northern Italy, they're not used to films, shorts and features being shot there. So whenever that happens, and some music videos have been shot on the metro before, but when films happen, even though they're shorts, they're actually pretty welcoming to the productions because they're happy that they're being chosen as a location, I think.
Yeah. And what was your timeline in terms of the shoot? How long did it take to shoot the film?
So pretty short pre-production, I guess. I started working on this with my friends and co-producers in early 2023, and by April we probably had the locations confirmed, and we shot this in July 2023. And it then took a very long time to edit and post-produce because, of course, I got a lot of friends involved who work in the industry and they were working on this on the side, but I didn't have any deadline, and I don't mind the post-production phase taking a long time, so took probably a little more than a year to have the film finished. And we did a screening first, a private one for the crew and the cast involved and all of the people that stepped in to help us, including the managers of the public transportation. And this is actually our festival premiere, so I'm pretty happy to be here.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really nice that you've come all this way. What was the biggest challenge through the shoot?
Casting was a bit of a challenge because we wanted the actors to fit in as final year high school students, So we set up an open casting call that many people responded to. We reviewed tens of applications, and we wanted the people to be local from the area that we were going to shoot in. And the guys that we eventually chose, they were not in high school, but they'd only been out of it for maybe about a year. So their age matches that of the characters. So we were pretty happy to find them. Yes.
It's good testimony, you know, all round, as I said, that you're able to get so many of these films. They get people in that kind of don't really feel like they fit the age group.
Yes.
So yeah, to overcome that obstacle is really good. What about technically? Were there any big challenges? Because obviously you're dealing with time and things like that. Was there?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get the equipment provided in kind by a local production company, so we didn't have to settle in for anything other than what we actually wanted in terms of the equipment. But the biggest challenge from a technical point of view, when shooting the scene at the club, we actually did some recce's at the club while it was open and very much crowded. Mm-hmm. But then since we shot this in July, that club is not open in the summertime, because the people who own that club have another one that's outdoors and they use that one in the summertime. So we had to put out a casting call again to friends and family to come in and be extras in the scene and to make the club feel at least, crowded to a certain extent was a challenge, like photographically speaking and in terms of lighting and in terms of the production design. We tried to make the location a little bit smaller, but still we had around 50 people on set with us that day that I definitely owe drinks to for coming and helping, but that was a bit of a challenge from a technical point of view, yeah.
Do you mind telling us what your budget was?
Budget overall in terms of actual expenses was close to 10K, but that was made, we would have spent more if it wasn't for, the locations we got for free, because all of them came for free, the equipment that we got for free, and some of my friends, the HODs who worked for free because, we felt that this was going to be our project and we've been collaborating on many projects. So we have a relationship that's not me hiring them, but it's us working on a project together. Yes.
So I'm going to quickly hand over to our audience member over there because he had a question that he wanted to ask. So go on.
Great film, Luca.
Thanks.
If you could stop time, what would you do with an extra 5 or 10 minutes every day?
I don't think an extra 5 or 10 would be enough, but I have so many things going on in my professional life and my job that I would definitely like maybe my days to last at least twice as much, so I have more than enough time to focus on my own projects. Because sometimes I have things that I want to do, I have ideas that I want to write down, I have films that I want to watch, games that I want to play, and I don't have the time to do that because I work my 9 to 5 and beyond that. So I'd like my days to be at least twice as long, so I have enough time to be working on my projects without waiting for too long to get things done.
Sleep twice as long as well to make up for it.
Yes.
I completely relate to what you're saying about, having that extra time just to do the things that you want to do. Unfortunately, it's never there, is it? So talk to us a little bit about your next project.
So I mentioned I shot a short film in January, which for the first time since uni, I finally got to shoot on film again, 16mm, black and white. My friend Davide in the audience was the cam op on the shoot, and so we worked on it together. We're editing it, but once again, I'm taking a very long time. We don't have a rough cut yet. We don't have a deadline. It's fine for it to be taking a long time because we want it to be good. And this one is going to be a shorter project than this, slightly more experimental. It's basically more character-driven. It deals with humanity, mankind, on the verge of an extinction that all humans are very much aware of. And so we follow a character as to what he's doing during his final hours. And he's taking part in a party that's very exaggerated, people drinking, people doing drugs, people having sex everywhere. But all of a sudden he realizes he's a writer and he wants to leave something for the world, some trace, some footprint of his existence. And so he starts writing and writing and writing and writing. And because there's an audio leitmotif of a radio station, spreading messages from people who want to communicate something ahead of this imminent extinctions, he sets himself on a mission to hand in his papers to the radio station so that they can be read. And whether he makes it or not is for the final film to say. And I hope that's going to be ready by the end of the year, and possibly I'll be able to screen it at some point in the future. Yes.
And I think it's a big challenge to move from digital to film. What's been your biggest obstacle, or do you want to talk to us a little bit about, the harder aspects of shooting in film? Because obviously, to start off with, it's much more expensive, isn't it?
Yes, very much more expensive. And I'm not new to film because I actually studied in London at the University of Westminster. We did a lot of film there. And so I was acquainted with film, and I knew I wanted to shoot on 16mm for a very long time. My biggest concern, which didn't turn out to be true, was the amount of roll that we bought, because actually I wasn't, we tried to save film, but not like preventing ourselves from doing all of the takes that we needed. And actually there was some leftover film that's in my fridge at home right now. So,
right.
So that concern didn't come to be true. And so I enjoyed every aspect of it. It's definitely more expensive buying the film, having it developed, having it scanned. It takes a little bit more time. Like by the time we were done shooting and from that moment until I got the rushes back, those were the worst couple of weeks of my life, because you never know how it's gonna turn out to be. And luckily it turned out to be fine. And now, there seems to be a gravitas to the edit, because the person who's editing this is taking their time, because they despite not having too many takes to choose from, this is a very montage-oriented film, and there's going to be many cuts and jumps between the main character's actions and what the other characters are doing, so they're taking a very long time. It seems that everybody is a lot more respectful of the work that's being done, and the same was for the actors. They actually had never shot on film before. It doesn't necessarily make a difference for them, but they felt that those 2 to 3 takes that they were given, they were going to have to give their best from the very first one, and they did. So I actually enjoyed working on film, and I would work on film again. I am doing another short film in October that I just recently got some funding for. That's early in development, and if the funds allow it, I would like to shoot that on 35. So upgrading, but shooting on film again.
Yep.
Yes.
Did you spend more time in rehearsal than you did when you shot digitally, or was it about the same?
We did some rehearsals, but I didn't want to do too many because I don't want the process of acting for the performers to become too automated, and I don't want them to robotically be repeating whatever we've been rehearsing. So I like to talk to the actors, and we did some reading of the screenplay. I took them to the locations ahead of the shoot because I wanted them to familiarize with them. We did some costume fits that also helped them prepare for the scenes. But in terms of actual rehearsals, we didn't do too much. We did just enough so that they knew what we were going to be doing, and they would make mistakes as the camera was rolling. But I didn't do too much.
Moving back to Time-Lapse, was there anything that you wanted to include that you weren't able to include? And if so, what was it and why?
If I have to be very specific, I would have wanted the last shot of the film. I would have wanted to have a few more takes. I would have wanted to have a close-up of the watch of this character, but there was a storm about to begin, and by the time we shot that one take, it was raining already, and that was our last day of shooting, so we had to settle for what we had in terms of the edit. So that's a very specific regret that I have, but I don't know what I could have done differently. In terms of more general things, I would probably do a little differently if I had to go back and shoot it now. I would try to be, a little bit more creative and exaggerated with the visual effects and in terms of the way that the superpowers that these people have expressed themselves on the screen. We have quite a few visual effects, and we probably couldn't afford more. But if I could go back and if I had the time and money to do it, I'd push a little bit on those. Yes.
I think you've you delivered a very interesting and very different film. It's one of the more different films that we've got of the festival. So well done on that, because as I say, it's a good experimental project that I think not a lot of people would have committed to do. So well done. Have we got any questions from the audience? Oh, they're all very shy. Oh, one at the front, Sean?
Yeah, just really quickly, you were talking about how you're shooting your next shot on film, or how you shot it. What would you say for you was the biggest difference transitioning from digital to film?
Well, you have to be, as a director, you have to be a little bit more prepared. I don't do storyboards, for example, because I don't know how to draw. If you could see my drawings, you'd laugh at them, and you'd be right. My drawing skills have been stuck since I was 6 or 7, but it's okay. But
You're not alone.
Yes.
Really not.
In the there's these AI tools now that allow you to storyboard, but I dislike them quite a bit. I don't like AI to be part of the process too much. I definitely don't like generative AI. But for this film, myself and the DOP sat down, and since he also couldn't draw, but we basically built a storyboard browsing Shot Deck and other tools that we know of, and basically selecting stills from films that couldn't just serve as mood boards in terms of the feel and the style and the lighting, which we did, but we basically tried to put down a storyboard, an actual one, but just by using references of films that actually are there. But those were framing references, not generic cinematography references. And so that was the first time I did that. And even though I haven't started yet, because we don't have confirmed locations yet, I'm going to do some scouting later this summer for this new film. I think I'm going to do a storyboard again, even though I'm going to be using this less orthodox method. But I guess if you shoot on film, you have to have a storyboard. And that helped me quite a bit in terms of visualizing the film and not shooting unnecessary shots, but also making sure you shoot everything that you actually need for the edit to be working. Yes.
Have we got any other questions out there? Oh, one over there again.
If you could make any film, if you had an unlimited budget, which film would you make?
If I had unlimited budget, first of all, I'd be very scared. If the budget weren't unlimited but still big, I am working right now on a screenplay that's the feature-length version of the short that I shot in January. It's realistic enough that it could be my debut feature, but it's also expensive enough that if I get to do it and if I do it right, it could be, from a technical standpoint, a good film without many sacrifices in terms of creativity and technicalities. So I have different ideas in mind, and I have different scripts that I'm working on. But if I were to choose one to make use of a big budget for, that would be the one.
And so we're going to wrap up, but I just wanted to thank you very much for making the journey to Romford and sharing your film with us. Has it been selected for any other festivals, or have you got any plans with it next?
So far, this is our first selection,
Okay.
but our distributor Pathos is pushing on with the submission, so we hope to have more screenings soon.
Cool, excellent. Can we give Luca a big round of applause? Thank you.